are these people?
So actually, let me
Nope. There you
catch
go.
this up. Got it. So this is an article that I found maybe Monday. Yeah, I think it was Monday I found this. Again, one of the rare times Twitter delivers some gems. And not to say that this is a gem. I think given the state of affairs right now, it's to be expected that melanated people will feel a way about, blank checks going to Israel and Ukraine as well, while we in this country are suffering. But and not much to be heard in terms of, we've talked about the black vote, being affected, just even prior to this for many other reasons. But now since, Biden is just basically giving carte blanche to Israel in terms of more money for military warfare, it's definitely making black voters feel a certain way or potentially feel a way. So this article is from The Nation, written by Elie Mystal. I believe, well, he's of color, he's black.
Yeah.
I believe he's a shit lib because I've never heard of this guy before.
Uh-oh.
But he did write a very interesting article that I think will be kind of poignant heading into next fall. So he wrote, Biden's Israel-Palestine policy could cost him the election.
Yeah.
The president's black check support of Israel's war on Gaza is alienating many of the black and brown voters he needs to win re-election.
Uh-oh.
So he continues. I am neither Israeli nor Palestinian, nor I am an expert on Middle Eastern geopolitics, terrorism, security, or colonization. I would argue you should be like somewhat of an expert on colonization because it affected your ancestors. But yeah. I digress.
He's hedging bets to talk about stuff that he doesn't know completely, but yes.
Anyway, I am an expert in American constitutional law, which in this situation is as useful as being an expert in sandcastle construction during a tsunami. As such,
Sure.
I have little to add to the current international conflagration and the foreign policy discourse around it. Instead, I have tried to read, listen, learn, and generally not say anything that could be used by the most moral bankrupt people to justify the murder of children, both Israeli and Palestinian. However, I am an American, a black one, who has a lot of experience listening to actual people of color, even as their voices are drowned out or dismissed by the prevailing white media. As such, I believe it is in my remit to warn right readers that Joe Biden's unwavering pro-Israeli stance has the potential to do significant harm to his prospects for re-election among voters he needs, young black and brown people. Also, young white people will probably be added to that too.
And the Irish and old black people, and like there's a lot of people who've been on this issue for a minute.
Right.
Nelson Mandela was one of the key figures in this movement. Like, how old's he?
Mandela?
Yeah.
He did.
I know, but like he would have been like trying to remember when that guy was. I don't know. Yeah, he's dead. He's gone now. He's old. He's way old. So he like died of old age. That's how he died, So
yeah. I know many people will not want to think about American political reality so soon after a terrorist attack, while Israel continues to pummel Gaza with airstrikes and continues to hold Israeli hostages. But as a person who desperately wants to stop the anti-democratic tide of MAGA-style fascism in my own country, I can argue we're already there with Biden.
Yeah, we've been there, bro.
But be concerned. Biden risks labeling himself as a president who is in favor of colonization.
He's already called himself a Zionist.
And a capitalist. So
yeah, we're already there,
late.
bro. Too late.
And one who would turn a blind eye to ethnic cleansing and war crimes. And those are tough labels to shake once they take hold in communities of color. Voters of color are strategic and willing to swallow enough nonsense and vote for the lesser evil. I actually, in some regard, agree with that. But there are some who will simply not pull the lever for any president in any party who stands aside while an oppressed people is besieged, starved, and bombed into oblivion. Even if you don't think Israel is a colonial power or don't think the Israeli government is violating the human rights of Palestinians as they wage war against,
except that's not who they're waging war against. Like, anyway, continue.
Right.
We know.
The Americans who do think those things are voters Biden is losing right now.
Turns out they already lost them.
Who once lost, Biden will never win back.
Pause. Like, A, he never had them to begin with, most likely. Like, because the people who know this would also know better. You know?
Right.
So, I mean, it's also his whole thing of the lesser evil. Essentially, he's saying, like, voters are dumb, but they're not that dumb. Like, that was that paragraph, pretty much. Like, they're willing to swallow some of it, you know? But, like, not all of it. You know? So, yeah. Sure. Here, I'll zoom these. There you go.
Thank you. Separate and apart from Israel's legitimate efforts to secure the release of its citizens taken as hostages and secure itself from terrorist threats, there are those in and around the Israeli government who have used plainly genocidal language to describe the conflict, calling Palestinians human animals, denying that Palestinian civilians have any rights because is their elected leadership, elected in 2006, by the way, and has not allowed those civilians to hold an election since.
Which who did that to combat who? And why they did that. Like, again, historical context is important. Yep. So that's,
well, he said, I don't know much. And
yes,
for all intents and purposes, he's definitely,
you're right there. Yeah.
Sounding like,
yes. But you're working on it. You're asking some good questions.
Or saying that the war is between the children of the light and the children of the dark. Again, BB mentioned that today.
Yes.
Biden has not this language.
Well, you can use it for that one.
Public warning. Probably, but I'm not going to risk it. Nor has he issued public warnings to Israel that the United States will not stand for human rights violations, nor has he stood shoulder to shoulder in solidarity with any Palestinian American or any Muslim American or any Arab American or non-white American calling for a basic respect for human rights.
Yep.
Biden's refusal to publicly call for peace or even restraint could be doing irreparable harm to him, to say nothing, obviously, of the harm it's doing to millions of people in the region. There is scant polling data on the issue so far, but what there is suggests a huge generational divide and a racial one. An NPR PBS poll taken last week shows that while 65% of Americans overall think the country should publicly support Israel, including 86% of baby boomers, that number drops to 48% in the case of Gen Z Americans. The racial divide is also dramatic, with 72% of white Americans favoring U.S. support for Israel, compared to just 51% of what pollsters call non-white Americans.
Yeah. Yep. And follow button. There we go.
Beyond these numbers, it doesn't take a degree in political science to know that Biden already has a problem with young voters, and especially young voters of color. Recent polls taken even before Biden's response to the Israel-Gaza war have shown Biden losing to Donald Trump among voters under 30. And there have already been significant warning signs that Biden is slipping with Black voters. And we've talked about this on the show before.
Yep. Yep. Oh, you need me to zoom out. There you go.
Does anyone really think that giving a foreign government free rein to bomb areas of land as densely packed as the island of Manhattan is helping Biden with young voters and people of color? Or did everybody just not think about that in their zeal to make sure college students who support Palestine can never get a job? People should remember that Biden's age is already a turnoff to young people, and his domestic policy agenda has largely been frustrated by Joe Manchin, Kirsten Sinema, Republican control of the House, and the Supreme Court. No, like most of those aren't really the issue there. So, nah. The issue Biden is running on in communities of color are essentially democracy and the rejection of racism. He's running against the MAGA brand of nativism and fascism. He's running on his own personal decency, of which I argue that he has none, but anyway. Biden can entirely appropriately call attacks against Israeli pure evil, but he can't seem to fix his mouth to say, turn on the water to civilians living in a desert.
Yeah.
He can say that Palestinian people deserve dignity and respect, but can't unequivocally say, can you zoom in, please?
Yes. Yeah. Up here. Follow. There you go. It's down here.
But can't unequivocally,
yeah.
Good. But can unequivocally say cutting off electricity to civilians is a human rights violation. I'm sorry, but it's hard to see Biden's personal decency when he can't speak up for the firstie. Biden is asking Black and brown voters to trust that he values all lives equally, but that becomes almost impossible to believe when he endorses the treatment of Palestinians as collateral damage to a counterterrorism campaign.
Yep.
Scroll down, please. There are signs that Biden's posture is causing rifts within his own administration. Last week, State Department official Josh Paul quit. Paul was responsible for processing arms sales to foreign nations. In his resignation letter, he said Biden's blind support for one side were short-sighted, destructive, unjust, and contradictory to the very values we publicly espouse. When the guy who oversees arm deals is essentially saying, this is too violent for me, we may have a problem. More worrying, there has been a lot of private griping from Muslim Americans within the Biden administration, with some threatening to resign en masse.
How about up here?
When I read or listen to white people in the media talking about Biden's approach to this crisis, I've heard pundits call Biden's trip to Israel his finest hour. I'm left with the impression that they just don't know or haven't considered how electorally disastrous it could be for Biden to lose Muslim and Arab American support. There are over 200,000 Muslims living in Virginia. There are 150,000 Arab Americans. In 2020, Biden won that state by around only 500,000 votes. In Michigan, there are over 350 Muslims. 200,000 Arab Americans live in the state. Biden won that state by around only 150,000 votes. Any significant weakening of the support plus Virginia in play and makes Michigan functionally unwinnable for Biden. Scroll down, please.
There you go.
And I shouldn't have to tell you that there's simply no path to Biden's electoral college success without Virginia and Michigan. If we broaden things out beyond the Muslim and Arab American populations, there are other dangers. If young college-age people of color sour on Biden and stay home, I'll argue that's beginning to happen. And regardless, Biden has problems across the upper Midwest. Anything less than overwhelming and enthusiastic support from African American voters cost Biden Georgia and Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
I mean, people still haven't gotten $600 from Biden back in 2020, right?
Nope.
So I'm sure that might become a thing again for some people.
I'm trying to
For
find
remembering that.
there was recently who's the other White House press guy? Not the secretary, but the other one, white dude in a suit, was asked about like Israel's civilian death, and they're like, well, we're trying to mitigate the damage, but Israel defend itself and yada yada. It's like, this is Biden's cabinet literally ignoring the other civilians being massacred. So,
Right.
But yep. Anyway, yep. How about up here? There we go.
Yeah. Perhaps in response to this basic electoral math, Biden has in recent days appeared to soften his tone. In an address to the nation from the Oval Office, I guess this was last Thursday night, Biden tried to express empathy for both Israelis and Palestinians. He denounced anti Semitism and Islamophobia. He said that we can't ignore the humanity of the Palestinian people and said that Israel would follow the laws of war and protect Palestinian civilians as best they can.
Whatever that means.
In what universe does that happen?
Right.
During his visit to Israel last week, Biden said that Israel should not make the same mistakes this country made after 9/11, an extraordinary statement both because American presidents don't often admit to war mistakes, particularly on foreign soil, and because this particular American showdown.
Yep. Not too that far. There's good, right?
This particular American president was, in fact, a cheerleader for a post 9/11 wars of vengeance. Scroll down. The president used nice words, but it escaped no one's notice that he was saying all of these appropriate words regarding the dignity and humanity of the Palestinian people while justifying his request to send billions of dollars in military aid and weapons to Israel. Biden did not call for a ceasefire, did not call for de-escalation, it did not even call for peace.
I think I might have found it.
What?
The thing I was looking for. Hold on. It's in the same vein, I think. This right here. Here. And then it'll go full screen, hopefully. Hurry up. Come on. Mm-hmm.
This is war. It is combat. It is bloody. It is ugly. And it's going to be messy. And innocent civilians are going to be hurt going forward. I wish I could tell you something different. I wish that wasn't going to happen. But it is going to happen. And that doesn't make it right. It doesn't make it dismissible. It doesn't mean that we aren't going to still express concerns about that and do everything we can to help the Israelis do everything they can to minimize it. But that's unfortunately the nature of conflict. This is
the only way it's going to be minimized if you stop giving them money. That's the only way.
Right, and you're not. Notice who they were talking to. It's only the Israelis. That's all they're talking to. Right. We got to make sure that they don't kill civilians. Are you? Because you haven't done any of that. So anyway, not to sidetrack you too much, but
all right. So this is Green Newsom. She mostly has good takes. I know she has been kind of problematic sometimes, but more recently, I think she's been on fire. But she called out, but I just inserted this here. And she said, you can't claim Biden is a bystander to Israel's actions when Biden is the one supplying the weapons and Israel wouldn't be able to carry out mass murder without Biden. Please be for real.
Yeah.
The rest of the world is not going to simply look away and forget what happened just because many American voters are willing to.
Right. Yep.
So anyway, back to the article. I know that some people, especially establishment politicians especially, want this speech to be enough. They want to acknowledge the humanity of Palestinians while treating the government actively denying them human rights as a passive force without alternate choices. But that frame isn't simply going to work for voters of color who know all too well how powerful governments justify killing us. For where I sit, his speech did nothing to instill confidence in voters of color that Biden will take a stand against war crimes. His bear hug BB strategy, which is to say, the idea that, well,
that was me. There you go.
The idea that Biden should get close enough to the Israeli government that he can use soft power to restrain it might play well in diplomatic circles and among voters who are inclined to give Biden the benefit of the doubt.
Not
but
us.
On the street, all people are seeing is a blank check Biden appears to be giving to Israel and none of the restraint. This isn't a messaging problem for the Biden administration. The problem is that Biden's actions scream to the world that he values an Israeli child more than a Palestinian one.
Which he values a lot of other children other than ours. On top of that, when in regards to Ukraine, Taiwan, and now Israel. So that's his legacy right now. So yeah.
It also must be said that Biden's lack of support for Palestinians is being viewed in the context of his enthusiastic support for Ukraine.
What I just said. Like, yeah, we're getting to it. Next story, too.
Are far from analogous, but Biden literally linked his support for Ukraine and support for Israel together in his Oval Office address. It's a politically tone-deaf comparison for Biden to make because linking the two doesn't work in his favor. It's simply not lost on voters of color that when a white country was invaded, Biden sent guns and missiles and money, while he all seems to have Palestinians is some bottles of water chucked at them from Egypt, and the hard-won pronouncement that not every single one of them is a terrorist who should be deleted from existence.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, too, that whenever the Republican House of Representatives stops beclowning itself as comic relief to the rest of the world, the very first thing they're going to do is pass a massive aid package at Biden's request that sends billions of dollars to Ukraine and Israel. Keep in mind, this was written
and Taiwan.
2 days ago. This was published 2 days ago. And look what happened today.
Yeah.
We got a new speaker in the House, and what was the first thing he said?
Yeah, money for the people who need money.
Right.
Yeah.
I actually should have put that clip in, but
sure.
You get the point. I can tell you right now that package is going to go over like a bag of bricks among Black voters. While Biden is functionally making it rain on fallen allies, the child poverty rate,
making it hail more accurately,
which disproportionately affects Black families, has doubled.
Yeah.
Is it fair to blame Biden for Manchin's inconceivable decision to let American kids go hungry? No. Is it easy to explain to a struggling Black family why we have money to aid Ukraine and Israel, but not Detroit and Philadelphia? No, it is not. Let me first say that as a Black person, I'm getting really sick of white liberals using Trump as a specter who emerge from white people's closets to punish Black people for anything less than full-throated support of Biden. Just ask Jim Jordan how threatening people you need to vote for you works out.
Yep.
Keep that in mind because someone that we know and love is going to play into that in a few minutes.
Okay.
So stay with me here. Moreover, I feel like white commentators too easily forget that we live in a country where Trump is a looming threat only because a significant majority of their own cousins and uncles and spouses are set, once again, to vote for a raging orange clown, no matter how many times he gets indicted for crimes. White folks are the ones threatening the future of American democracy. To save it, Democrats need supermajorities of Latino, Asian American, Pacific Islander, and Arab American voters, and they need Black people to continue supporting Democrats by well over 80% margins, and they need all those groups to turn out.
Pause. 80% margins of each of those groups.
Yeah.
And you need the turnout of that. Like, bro, that's good fucking luck.
Right.
Like, good luck. You are definitely not getting that right now. The Pacific Islanders, yeah, they fucking hate you. But
No.
they're like, get the fuck. The fucking Asian
Somehow
Americans, they're
Biden
like, fuck you, get the fuck.
Right. Somehow Biden has been able to pretty much say F you to every
Each
one
of these groups. Yeah.
In some way, shape, or
Yep. Yep.
But it's like, but it's the point. White people, certain ones, not you, but
he's fucked us over too. So it's like whatever, you know.
Right, but some of y'all will vote for Biden, will vote for Trump, or would vote for Biden either way
because of Trump, because of the spectering that he's talking about of like, it's you're voting against someone, not for something.
Right.
So. Yep.
So just maybe the white anti-Trump crowd should listen to voters of color with some respect when they try to tell you what's wrong with their political approach.
And I wish.
Okay. In any event, the Trump would be worse argument, while unquestionably true, isn't a slam dunk white Democrats want it to be. At least not now, when Biden is the one in charge, and Biden is the one standing with a hard right foreign regime that is perceived as denying political participation, freedom, and basic human rights to our oppressed population.
Yep. Well,
this is a long article, we're not done.
You're good.
Of course, now it's an important word when discussing the politics of the moment. A reasonable defense of Biden's political calculus is, perhaps, not that his position is defensible to voters of color, but that in 13 months, many of those voters won't care about his indefensible positions.
Don't forget.
I certainly noticed that at least some of the people who are suddenly concerned about free Palestine couldn't have found the Gaza Strip on a map before, killed over 1,000 Israelis. People who didn't care about the intolerable conditions in Gaza 3 weeks ago might well not care about the situation there 13 months from now. If there's one thing I know from a locked fact about the American electorate, white, black, brown, or other, is that we are a fickle, ill-informed, deeply unserious people. Hey! Sounds like Nick. Shout out to Nick Cruz.
Yeah, sounds like a few of us.
And yet, the fact that this war has scarcely begun. Israel is preparing for a ground invasion, one that Biden has given his private backing to, of course, and when it invades, its soldiers will be fighting an urban war against a group using guerrilla tactics. It will not be quick. It will not be pretty. Civilians will die. Pictures of the dead will be shared on the internet. And even if the war does somehow remarkably end soon, the larger situation will remain far from resolved.
Yep.
I don't think Biden or his administration knows how bad it has been for him with his non-white base over the last few weeks. I know that while some people have tried to get the message through privately, many of the people, like me, who would normally be raising the alarm publicly, have been terrified of saying anything. Speaking for myself, I'm worried that anything less than full-throated support for the Biden administration and the Israeli government will be amplified by anti-Semites to justify the slaughter of Jews. And I'm also worried that anything less than full-throated support of the Biden administration and the Israeli government, literally any sympathy for the plight of Palestinians, will be twisted in such a way as to label me a T sympathizer who stands with and we're already seeing that.
Just like the Iraq War people were yelled at.
Right.
So
for the first time in my life, I'd rather be writing about Clarence Thomas.
Which this is from The Nation, right? This is who again?
Elie, I forgot his last name.
Who I imagine, if you look at their particular reportings, I'm sure they're pretty generous to the Democrats.
Yes. Yes.
This is even they're figuring it out. They're going, oh, see, this has been happening to those of us outside this. there any more to this, or are we good? How many more we got? 1, 2. Okay. I'll take a second. Like this has been happening to us outside of these bubbles, right? Already in multiple factions, right? We've already been here, done that, gotten over it, moved on. You know, it's now this affects these people directly now. Right? That their Jewish colleagues, their Democratic colleagues are all like, hey, be careful what you say right now. You know, I think it was, let me pull that photo up. Pretty sure I sent it to one of you. Where's that? Here? Yep. Open in browser. 2, 1. So waking where is it? There it is. Waking up to friends in the film industry telling me they are deleting their pro-Palestinian posts because of a new blacklist going around here and across the pond. McCarthyism is back. Arab and Muslim filmmakers who already struggle to find work because of systemic racism and Islamophobia can't even show solidarity in case of further repercussions, right? So that's what that person is saying, is that, like, without saying it, is that if I say too much, I will lose my job. And that's what I care about.
And this is kind of funny, but awesome, but funny at the same time. I've known porn stars. I've heard like
Mia Khalifa
online who are standing for Palestine, and and their fans are not a fan of
and
that.
And Pornhub is sending the money from her videos to support Israel because she has no rights to any of that revenue, even though she was the one exploited.
Right.
Like, how vile and despicable. You know?
When porn stars get it right.
Yes.
And they're being like ostracized and condemned for it, that's a problem to me. Like, not just porn, but I just think that that's kind of an extreme example in my mind, you know, that even they get it right and they're being ostracized for it.
Right.
Or
Himbo in the chat, McCarthyism never left. Like, yeah, I mean, it's we went from one form of it to another. I mean, Russiagate has been a prominent, and that's the other thing. They're labeling these Russian supporting, yada yada. Like, if you support them, you support the commies. Like, it's standard propaganda. Like, and see, here's where this goes off the rails. This article. I write because I want Biden to get reelected, it says. Why? For one. Why? And that simply cannot happen without the overwhelming support of young people and people of color, which you done lost. Give up already. Like, accept the L. I write because the Arab American activist who has to go door to door to their community to drum up votes for Biden in Michigan. Yeah, I bet they're not doing that now.
They're not doing that.
No help from the administration. Yes, that's because they don't care. I write because the black voter registration volunteer who's trying to get people excited to vote for Biden, which that is not happening, is getting laughed out of the apropkable barbershop. I write because Biden is losing and he continues to only listen to white media pundits who goes on Fox News to laud his speeches. He will spend 2025 working on his presidential library from Delaware. Bro, where have you been? Where have you been? Like, bro. Like, this has been, bro, where have you been under a rock? I know you've been under a rock. It's okay. Like, we'll help you. Come to the light. We'll help you.
No, he's too far down. If you see Biden,
go ahead.
If you see Biden running around next October playing defense in Virginia, Pennsylvania, Michigan, you'll know that he got his message too late. Actually, we should watch this. Like,
that'll happen.
We should check this out and see and check this out this time next year to see if that's really the case.
The same ones that Hillary didn't go to, and like they never learn. It's just repeating the same shit.
Democrats have a nasty habit of listening to non-white voters for only 6 weeks every 4 years. if Biden tries that strategy this time, black and brown voters might stay home. Not might, will.
Yes, are.
And white people will elect Trump to unleash Armageddon.
Because that's what the Armageddon is. Because that's, oh god, this guy. Fuck this guy. Yes. Fuck him.
Yes.
Okay.
We've been expecting you, Harry.
Oh god.
Speaking of calling the ghost of Trump, like I saw this. Mostly, I did this for laughs and also to kind of piss you off a little bit. But but kind of the shaming that Elie kind of mentioned in his article about like how white pundits are basically shaming people of color in terms of their position
as they always do.
Right. But yeah, let's see what this child, and I can't even go in because he's literally a child.
I'm gonna need more of this before we go. So
listen, this is really important, and this one's for all the people who are saying that they're not going to vote for Joe Biden in 2024 because of what's happening in the Middle East. By punishing Joe Biden, by not voting for him, you are punishing yourselves and millions of other Americans. This is a gift to the Trump campaign. Republicans have been trying for years to...
Joke's on you. I like punishing myself.
Make it harder for people to vote in swing states and states around the country, but especially young people, people of color, minorities, and more. By sitting on the sidelines saying, I'm not going to vote for Joe Biden, you are doing what they want. You are giving a gift to the Republicans. And look, because
they totally don't want me to vote for him. They totally don't want me to do that.
Policy that Donald Trump and the Republicans will pass if they win, and if everybody sits on the sidelines, will be disastrous. It
like
will be
what?
Far worse.
What could they do? Could they get us into a war with Russia? Could they get us into a war in the Middle East? Could they, I don't know, get us into a war in Africa or South America, or suddenly take away our rights, or not give us money we're owed, or like, what could they do, Harry? What could the Republicans do that the Democrats haven't already done? Let's talk about that. They're running out of ideas. Democrats stole them all.
Worse than Donald Trump's first term. So when it comes to Joe Biden, you don't have to love him. You don't have to like him. You don't have to like voting for Joe Biden. But please, compare Joe Biden to the alternative, not the almighty of which is a president you fully agree with and is fully morally in line with you. This is a very complex issue with what's happening in the Middle East. I can assure you that the Biden administration is doing their best, and this is not a reason to give this country back to the Republicans, who will treat Palestine significantly worse than any Democrat ever will. Please, let's be logical with this stuff.
Genocide? I don't think genocide can get any worse.
Collin,
right?
Be logical. Collin, be logical. Listen. You have got to grow up and get serious, all right? We need to have a talk about this. You need to suck it up, vote for Biden, all right? He's just the best out there, okay? You need to learn. He's just the best you can get.
Folks, listen, this is really important.
No, I'm not going to listen.
Can you stop embarrassing yourself?
But funny enough, like, because usually, before I get into the tweet that I want to talk about, this is from Pictures She. Now go back.
Yeah, I got you.
Like, he's another one of these, like, slobs on Biden's knob, basically, every time.
Yeah.
Like, But, surprisingly, this tweet, thank you for writing this, Elie. I really hope a lot of people read this with an open mind, because it's very important. Now, granted, obviously, he had his shit Libby takes, but mostly, I would argue, he was mostly correct in terms of Biden's going to lose the, I would argue has already, like the melanated vote. So I guess, Harry needs to read that article too and see.
Yep, he might need to learn. He doesn't know how to read, Collin. God.
Well, he's in college.
Yeah, but it's American education system, bro. It's not like he didn't go somewhere that actually teaches you. So.
But anyway, I'm assuming this is a Black woman, assuming her picture is correct, at the Acumen, Ashley Stevens. So this is a Black woman, with, I would imagine that she would be responding to someone like Harry. But she says, to end this segment, it's really disgusting to tell Black people to vote for Biden in 2024 because Trump is going to be worse after they made valid criticism. It takes incredible amount of privilege to talk down to people who are justifiably upset. Things are materially worse for people. Come on. The cost of living has skyrocketed. There's an actual housing crisis. Student loans are back, and there's no help in sight. To tell people they need to stand behind and vote for that man is nasty work.
Yeah.
Y'all would rather support voters than demand Biden and Dems do better. It takes more courage to actually hold Biden accountable, something a lot of people said they were gonna do.
Yeah.
You can't keep sacrificing working class and poor Black people who have been harmed the most by the policies that Joe Biden and Democrats are enacting. These Negro liberals who go on TV to work on behalf of Biden's administration and Democrats are concerned about their kids drinking lead poison water.
Yep.
Their kids' schools aren't being underfunded. They aren't feeling the pinch at the gas station and grocery store.
Yeah, it's not so bad for us. You know?
It's real nasty and should be shameful to dismiss people's lived realities and place a responsibility on voting and not the politicians currently in power with the ability to make change right now if they wanted. These folks have no morals, so they say nonsense and vote shame. And we'll end it right there.
Yeah. No, I couldn't agree more. Let's check the chat, see what they have to say. So Harry needs to be taken behind the woodshed, with calls of "Let's go, Brandon." Harry something or other. This kid's an idiot. Yeah, appreciate you guys on the Rockfin. So you know we're here. You can see, look, there's people there. For once, which is nice. And one or two, talking back and forth. Rumble's got some peoples. Let's check on Rumble. Their kids aren't going to end up drafted or otherwise going to war either, says Plants Poop Oxygen. So yeah. So many people don't actually read the book in college. I mean, I can't blame you. That's what Cliff Notes are for.
Right.
You know. But yeah, I mean, look, dude, George W. Bush made it through Yale. Like,
right.
You know, these white people get like dragged through.
Right. He was a C student from what I remember. Right.
Yes.
Like that, right?
Yeah. C for Caucasian. That's what C means. Like, because those are the only ones where it's acceptable. You know, like if you got a C, you ain't getting into no jobs. Like you got C, no, but that guy can become a rocket scientist even if he got C's. So it's like, well, he made it. You know. Anyway,